I'm Sonia Baghdadi.
And I'm Aaron Dean.
The advocates found some people are trapped in abusive relationships because they may have nowhere to go.
Nowhere to go because they are queer or have a beloved pet. We investigate barriers keeping victims from safety and reveal why some groups are calling for change.
We begin by looking at a heartbreaking dilemma facing abuse victims who have cats and dogs. Few domestic violence shelters allow animals, which limits options for victims. Nearly 50% stay with an abuser rather than leave their pet behind. One survivor, Kendall Ann Combs, tells the advocates she narrowly escaped a violent relationship with her life and her dog.
That's a happy dog.
Kendall Ann Combs loved her golden doodle, Ozzy.
Hey, Ozzy.
That dog was my baby.
And she loved her boyfriend at the time.
I had pretty much a fairy tale relationship in the beginning. It just slowly turned into something else. That was the opposite of a fairy tale.
At what point did your former partner start to show signs of abuse?
Yeah, so it was really, really slowly. Someone just doesn't start abusing you. They isolate you first. They start to control just little things you do. It started with him doing things like if we were in an argument and I was trying to get out of the room, he would block the doorway. Then it escalated to while he was blocking the doorway, if I would try to go by him, he would slam his body into me, which would push me into the door jamb, which is very painful and very scary. But in my mind, that didn't compute. When we were arguing and he would grab my wrist when I tried to walk away. One night when we were in an argument and he actually grabbed me by my neck and strangled me until I fell on the ground. So when I decided I had had enough, there was a very violent fight occurred where when I was trying to get out of the house, I was unable to because my abuser was on top of me, strangling me, suffocating me. And it was extremely scary. And he was much larger than me. And at one point, I almost made it out the back door. And my abuser picked me up and slammed me on the kitchen floor. And he was on top of me. And he had his hand over my mouth and my nose. And he was also banging my head on the floor to prevent me from yelling. I just kept thinking, my mom is never going to know what happened to me. My mom is always going to wonder what happened to her daughter. And I had no physical way to get him off of me. And so the only thing I could do was call out for Ozzy. And I yelled Ozzy's name. I heard Ozzy's nails on the hardwood floor behind me. Then I heard his nails on the linoleum. I looked to the side and I saw him crawling next to me. And I saw him showing his teeth and growling. And it frightened my abuser. Just for 1 second, my abuser jumped off of me. I grabbed Ozzy by the scruff of his neck and I made it out of the back door. So there is no doubt in my mind that Ozzy saved my life because I don't think that I would be here today if it weren't for him.
At that point, when you were able to get away, did you know where you were going to go?
At that point, I lived 12 hours from my family. And I knew that most domestic violence shelters do not take a dog, particularly a 100-pound dog. You know, it's not like I could sneak him in. And so I was terrified. Also, he had just saved my life. I didn't want to be separated from him.
Was there any hesitation about leaving because you felt like you had nowhere to go?
Absolutely. Because obviously I couldn't leave Ozzy there, but I had no place to go.
Emotionally and physically exhausted, Kendall Ann says she and Ozzy drove 12 hours to her mother's house. The pair was finally safe and started a new life. Kendall Ann co-wrote a book about how she escaped domestic violence and created a podcast.
You've been through so much, but thankfully it did have a happy ending. You saved yourself and Ozzy, and I can only imagine how much courage that it took for you to leave.
If anyone's listening to this, if you are in the same situation, you have it in you. I swear you have it in you. I always say there's nothing, I'm no different than anyone else in the world. I don't have any special skills or talents. You have the courage, I promise.
And Kendall Ann says she hopes more and more domestic violence shelters will open their doors to people and their pets so no other victims will feel like they have nowhere to go.
If I did not have my mom as a place for me to go, I might not have left that day because I could not leave Ozzy with him.
If you need help escaping abuse, contact the National Domestic Violence Hotline. They also offer resources for people with pets. Their website is thehotline.org. Their phone number is 1-800-799-SAFE. Kendall Ann's story really opened my eyes to the gut-wrenching choices victims have to make.
Yeah, me too, Sonia. I've read some survivors say that having their pets with them helps them heal.